So first up on the podcast, we're talking about Chicago Express's expansion, Narrow Gauge and Erie Railroad Company expansion, and the Queenie Nickel Plate Road.
And it's designed by John Bohrer. No one drew this one, and published by Queen.
Tell us about it, Eric.
All right. So, starting with the expansion first, it has 2 mini expansions in the box. One is the Narrow Gauge. That expansion is all about putting out tracks that are going to block other players. So you put these orange tracks. They go on 9 specific cities throughout the map. Once these cities are built into, they unlock. They go into a pool that then you can use an action. And instead of using that action, you're going to use an action to put out these orange train tracks. And they can go into the forest areas. They can go into the mountains. And they are there to block the passage for another train, or make it harder for another train to, get through there. They have to kind of divert somewhere else. So that's that expansion. The other one is Erie. This is unlocked once you get to one of these 4 cities that kind of go down the middle of the board. Once it's breached, then you start an auction to give out the only share of the stock. Once someone has that share, it starts... I forgot the city name where it starts, but it starts off at the northern middle section of the board. And they get to kind of decide if they want to go to the right towards New York, or they can go to the left and, go towards Chicago. So they are the only ones that get that stock, so they have, all rights to it.
That was the purple trains?
I think purple was nickel. Oh. I forgot the color of Erie. I think it wasn't black, but I forgot the color.
That's brown.
Maybe. So the last one is the Queenie. It's Nickel Plate Road. I believe these were the purple tracks. Once you get to Chicago, the turn after, you're going to do an auction. And it's another railroad that you actually don't even get one. No, you do get one share of it. But whoever wins the auction to get the share puts down all 12 of the tracks as you see fit. However, there's a couple of stipulations. You can't go to a certain city. You can't go to anywhere there's a forest or a mountain. So it's not really meant to, put a block anywhere, but it does make wherever you're going to go more expensive for other trains. So those are the 3 mini expansions that we're going to talk about.
It is brown.
Oh, brown. There you go.
I only wanted that because I don't remember the names of the railroads, but I remember the colors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? The one thing is, I will say that the orange railroads,
which is narrow gauge, they are the blocking tracks.
I think they're useful. Maybe if you played it a whole bunch of times with a lot of really experienced players, it can be cool.
We didn't end up using it a lot in our game, but
there were a couple of turns when they could have been used really well.
Right, exactly. And I think that was just a lack of
foresight.
Other players. Yeah, I would have used them. Hopefully, I would have used them if I've seen a good opportunity for them. However, the times where I got to use them, I couldn't be backed up by somebody else. So I think if you have a partner somewhere and you're trying to stop someone in particular, you can be like, all right, I'm going to put one here and you put one here. That's going to really make, they have to divert off pretty far. But sometimes in certain situations, if you can only put one down, they might have to divert one over, and it doesn't really slow them down too much.
Right. There was only 2 situations I saw that I wanted to use it, but it was just easier for me to place more railroads.
Yeah.
Because
right.
I don't know, like you can jump down from like a north train
down to an industrial city.
Right. But then I just want one space below it so nobody can enter into it with the way that everything else was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of disappointing. I mean, it would have been nice if like you can use them, like maybe if everybody started with 1 or 2 and then you can use them
whenever.
But you burn your entire turn to do it.
You do, but I don't see a big problem in using a turn to do it, because a lot of the turns they just give you incremental gains. They might increase that stock 1 or something.
Yeah,
which that's a lot of times not going to even get you $1 at that point. So a lot of the things that you're doing are going to give you, smaller gains. So to use that gain instead to, divert or stop someone from having a big push somewhere that you don't want them to be would be more beneficial.
Yeah. Nah, overall, I thought they were okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they're in it, and, if they weren't in it, that's cool. If they're in it, that's cool too.
Right.
Probably better if they're in it, I guess, just to have the
I like it
ability.
as an option.
Yeah.
In this way, you don't have to use one of your trains because in Chicago Express, you can only put down tracks or put down trains that you have a stock in.
Right.
So in order to kind of divert off to maybe stop somebody else, that spends your money. That's you go off and pass that aren't beneficial for your train line.
Yeah,
to do so sometimes.
And I guess if you do the way I was doing it, you do soak up some of your trains, which might prevent you from going all the way to
Chicago.
Well, whatever is it Chicago?
Yep.
Fair enough. I thought it was something else. You sure it was? I guess it was Chicago because Detroit's rule.
Detroit
yeah, you're
was
right.
the industrial city to the northeast.
Every time I've played this game, I've been on the upside down version of it. So I'm facing the map from the north end, and so south is my north. It really messes me up because it really doesn't resemble the U.S. at that point.
Right.
But then I look at the pictures and it's back the normal way, and it
makes sense.
So I don't know what you think about the other.
Erie?
Yeah, the Erie.
So Erie,
The brown one.
it opens up midway, kind of midway through the game, I guess. I did like it, although there's only one person that's going to get that track, and it kind of almost takes them out of the game because
They're going to be
not really out of the
Yeah.
game, but
they'll be more focused on that.
right. It's going to be for their most benefit to mooch off others, building up their other tracks
Yeah.
while they, alone get this one track to kind of to expand and get, the most benefit from.
Yeah.
So that part of it kind of changes some alignments, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't
agree.
mind that either. And then there's
Queenie?
called Nickel Plate. Now this one, it's more of an end game track that comes out. The first person to get to Chicago, the turn after, you're going to put out this track. Now in our game, we got there kind of late, so the person, which was me actually, that got to put out this certain track wasn't as beneficial. But I would see some games where you get to Chicago a little bit earlier is going to be even more beneficial because you can put out, it's more of a blocking and making it cost other tracks more to get to Chicago.
Yeah,
there's such a
exactly.
benefit to get there.
I think it might have been my favorite part of the expansions that we were playing with.
Oh, all three. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's neat because at the end of the game, I have some problems with it, but I do like it. Like the idea that you could just plop out all these trains and cause a lot of problems is cool, but it's almost too easy to calculate what it's going to be worth, which is the thing.
I did have a problem with that too.
Yeah.
Because, all right, I'm going to put it here, and you got I believe there was like 12 tracks to put out. So you can actually calculate, and you don't have to spend any money. They all go out. You don't have to spend any money to put them out. So you know exactly what that track is worth. And then if you could kind of calculate how many more dividend payouts am I going to get, you can know net value what you're going to, get back from it.
Right.
So that was one of the problems. Now that is going to be a little bit harder to determine if it's earlier on in the game. Then you
That's
know,
true.
It's like,
That's true.
it might be 2 dividends or it might be 4 dividends or whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think overall, I didn't mind any of the three. Let's just call them 3 different expansions at this point,
Right.
which I guess they are. I didn't mind any of them, and I guess you can mix and match them. But I
Right.
still like the base game just as much.
I
don't
do
think
too.
they add or subtract. They just kind of there.
Yeah, they add some other elements to it. I wouldn't maybe start off with them because
Yeah, that's no.
Chicago Express didn't feel like it had a hole where some part of it was taken out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of sense that in other games where it made sense. This should have been here the whole time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. So I did like that part of it. So it is. I think all of them kind of shine. Maybe not in every game.
Yeah, maybe just add one of them, and the next time we play, to add a different one. Maybe not adding all 3 of them into your game.
Or that, yeah.
I think that. I think they're worth having for sure.
Right.
Especially the Queenie. I kind of really do like that one the most.
Do you? Okay.
I think that one was super cool because even in our game that we got to calculate it pretty easily because there was like 2 more dividends left on it or something, or 1. I don't remember. But if it was a little bit quicker than that and we had more dividends, it's just it's a neat, I just like the fact that you could just mass chaos,
right?
Throw all kinds of stuff down.
Because not only do you get the value of those dividends that you're going to get paid out by yourself, but you do have the added value of you're going to mess up some other trains, hopefully.
Right. Probably not that bad because it's all open stuff there, but if they have to go through multiple spaces,
depends on how much money they have as well.
That's true, yeah. Because about that time their railroad might be depleted,
right?
Or they have exactly as much money as they need to get to Chicago or whatever. But no, overall, I liked them. I think you can play them without. You can play with it with. This is normally when I see modular games like this or modular expansions, it's kind of like, nope, I just want to throw it all in there. I think this probably is most beneficial just using one module at a time.
Yeah, I can see that. I actually don't even mind all 3 of them because, of course, the narrow gauge one, because it just gives you that extra option.
Oh, the blocking one? No, yeah, I would include that.
I would always include that one. Maybe the other 2, you can use one of them or both of them or whatever. But always narrow gauge is not going to add much in time of gameplay. But it just gives you additional options.
I don't think any of it, adding all of it almost didn't even make the game longer.
Not much.
Because you still use the same amount of actions each round. You just have to, they're spread up among 2 other rail tracks at this point. Or another thing, which is blocking railroads.
Right.
So I guess the game length doesn't really get hindered much. Maybe setup. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit more setup. A little bit more time to do some, the other auctions for those 2 railroads, but
no, that's true because they go on a turn, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, not too bad. Either way, it's a good expansion. I think that I would be okay playing it without it as much as I am with it. And I'm kind of including the Queenie,
right? Yeah. All together.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely not I'm always gonna play with it, but I did like having that option, and I would probably play with it more than not.
Yeah, Matt, you got to play Chicago Express.
Yeah, I was looking it up because I thought I had, but I think I was getting confused with Transamerica. So
yeah, no, Chicago Express is probably the only stock game that I still lose at, and because it's such a good stock game,
right?
And trains are okay to me, but this one's probably my favorite stock. Well, it's on par with Stockpile as far as a stock game, but as far as train games, it's probably my favorite train game. So, what about you?
Oh, yeah, it's up there.
Yeah. Because we have such an extensive list of train games.
We don't have very many. But, yeah, definitely up there.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anything else?
No, that's it.
No.
All right. That's Chicago Express's expansion, and it's Queenie.